Alright, so today I'm back again with episode Nagi, but today, ladies and gentlemen, we will go over the 5th chapter, which is where it finally starts to heat up a bit as we leave the tag game and instead go right into the real games. Anyway, I'm not going to hold you here for any longer, as I know that you guys want to get right into the chapter, so just be sure that you leave a like, a comment, and of course subscribe to the channel. And while you are at it, you could always join the Discord server down in the comments. But with all of that out of the way, let's finally get into it. As the rules appeared, Zantetsu remarked that he understood the objective of the first selection: score 10 goals and trade points using the bonus system. He briefly entertained the idea of using a one-day pass to escape, but Ryo quickly dismissed this, telling him he was completely mistaken. Meanwhile, Nagi expressed boredom, asking Ryo if there were any board games or even a deck of cards to pass the time. His disinterest was evident, but Ryo reminded him that this was just the first selection, suggesting that tougher challenges awaited them. If Igo's plan was to create the world's best striker, they would all inevitably become rivals, but for now, their priority was to survive and advance. Around them, Team Vi members were preparing their beds, readying themselves for the competition. Ryo, seeking to build a team around his playmaking abilities, addressed the group, asking their thoughts on his strategy. One member noted that since they were Team V, stronger teams surely lay ahead. Ryo, relishing the challenge, smirked, noting that this only made things more exciting for him. In contrast, Nagi sat dejectedly, thinking about how he just wanted to lose quickly and return home to play video games. Zantetsu, still enthusiastic, commented that their opponents seemed like they would be a worthy challenge, but the others quickly dismissed his comment, with Ryo even calling him an idiot. Their conversation was interrupted by Igo, who addressed the team to announce that Team X and Team Z had just kicked off their match, and soon it would be time for Team Phi to face Team Y. Igo stressed that the first selection would determine their fates as strikers. He asked them to consider whether they would prioritize personal goals or the team's success, hinting that this selection process was designed to rebuild their soccer abilities from the ground up. As they prepared for the match, Ryo told Nagi to get ready, but Nagi, still unmotivated, suggested that he play goalkeeper instead. Ryo, growing frustrated, told him to stop being lazy and focus on scoring goals. Nagi, indifferent, pondered how to slack off during the game. Once the game started, Ryo took control of the ball, determined to demonstrate his strength. He quickly analyzed Team Y's strategy, confident in his ability to exploit their weaknesses. However, before he could act, one of his own teammates suddenly charged forward, shoving him aside. Ryo, taken aback, questioned the players' actions as they were on the same team. The teammate, smirking, explained that the top scorer would survive regardless of the team's victory. He had no interest in the team's success and was focused solely on proving himself as the strongest striker. Another player soon joined the fray, asserting that he too was determined to be the best. They began competing fiercely, paying no attention to the team's overall performance. Ryo, initially shocked, soon realized the reasoning behind Igo's second rule for the first selection. The rule was designed to push each player to focus selfishly on their own goals, forcing them to compete against one another in a test of individual strength. Teamwork was cast aside as their egos clashed, each player desperate to outshine the others. Ryo marveled at Igo's twisted approach, recognizing the brilliance behind it. He couldn't help but smile, thinking to himself that while it was a brutal setup, it was going to be a fascinating and intense challenge. Igo had successfully made the players forget about teamwork and pollution, instead pitting them against each other to test who among them was the strongest individually. Ryo couldn't help but smile, realizing just how twisted this approach was. He never thought Blue Lock would be this much fun, with everyone fighting each other. As the game progressed, a player from Team Y named Niko took control of the ball. He expressed his disdain for the rough play, quickly assessing the situation. Ryo realized that Niko had deliberately positioned himself away from the crowd to capitalize on loose balls. However, Ryo was still able to come in and sweep away the ball from Niko. However, Zantetsu then intervened, stealing the ball away from Ryo and asking if he would still call him that. Ryo was shocked by Zantetsu's speed. Zantetsu, confident, declared that he wasn't foolish and aimed the ball toward the goal. The goalkeeper made an effort to stop it but failed, allowing Team 5 to score their first point. Team Y was thrown into chaos, panicking and fighting among themselves as Zantetsu basked in his success. Ryo, feeling a surge of anger, clenched his fists and confronted Zantetsu, questioning who he thought he was messing with. Zantetsu taunted him, and when Ryo urged him to keep talking, he remarked that he was like a moth flying through the air. While Zantetsu and Ryo were arguing, Nagi went over to the goalkeeper and asked him to switch places as he wanted to chill. But as they resumed their positions, both teams began fighting among themselves, each player determined to score. Ryo realized that this chaos was inevitable and decided that instead of trying to stop it, he would take advantage of the scrum. He prepared to break past everyone and score for himself. Just then, Niko approached Ryo, acknowledging his impressive balance of physical and technical ability, but pushing him aside while calling him a goody-goody. Ryo countered, insisting that the other player knew nothing about him. As they grappled, Zantetsu interrupted them again, apologizing for the disturbance. Niko confirmed that Zantetsu used the right words, but reminded him he was in their way. As they clashed, Ryo seized the opportunity and managed to score, shouting that he was a super elite and telling the others to remember that. He taunted them as lowly peasants. Zantetsu sat bewildered, unable to grasp Ryo's words, stating he would need to Google them later. Meanwhile, Niko observed the speed of the players, realizing that Ryo and Zantetsu were on a different level entirely, representing the caliber of egoist strikers. Ryo continued to mock Zantetsu for claiming to be the strongest, but Zantetsu ignored him, still confused by Ryo's vocabulary. Niko felt the pressure building as he realized his usual strategies were ineffective against these two. He acknowledged that this was what ego meant when he spoke of players capable of creating something from nothing. Faced with the impossibility of scoring against Ryo and Zantetsu, he decided to focus on stopping them, using his eyes and brain to crush their momentum. Before he could act, however, Team V scored again. Ryo celebrated loudly, thrilled to have scored a hat trick, and asked Zantetsu if he was satisfied yet. Zantetsu reminded him the game wasn't over and there was still unfinished business. Frustrated, Ryo told him to leave him alone since he had no time to waste, wanting to team up with Nagi instead. He noticed Nagi slacking off, lounging on the goal net, and asked when he had become a goalkeeper. Nagi, enjoying his rest, claimed they had already won and congratulated Ryo. Ryo sighed, realizing that if he was the only one scoring, there was no point in their efforts. Even if they advanced to the next stage, there was a good chance Nagi would be eliminated if he didn't improve and prove his worth. Determined to motivate him, Ryo had an idea and asked Nagi if he wanted his phone back. Nagi eagerly replied that he did, eager to play games. Ryo proposed a deal. If Nagi could score 3 goals, he could use those goals to get his phone back. Nagi agreed but suggested they trade his 3 goals for the phone. Ryo angrily retorted that he wouldn't do that and insisted Nagi needed to earn it himself, questioning his ego. Nagi found the whole concept of ego annoying, but reiterated his desire to play video games. He then asked Ryo if he could slack off after scoring the 3 goals, to which Ryo begrudgingly agreed. With that, both players prepared themselves to chase the ball. Meanwhile, the opposing team was preparing their next move, with one player calling his teammates to position themselves, declaring that they were total noobs. They aimed to execute a perfect attack through coordinated passing. Okawa, one of the players, announced that he would confront them head-on. As he charged toward Ryo, however, he was unable to do anything against Ryo. Ryo sees Nagi up on the field and says that he is fine with doing all of the groundwork and helping change Nagi's 0 into a 1. He claimed that this was how they would become the best players in the world. Nagi focused intently on scoring, determined to complete his mission. Niko realized he couldn't let Nagi score and vowed to catch up. But Nagi, immersed in thoughts of video games and his 3-goal target, executed a flawless bicycle kick. The crowd gasped in awe at his skill, labeling him as the friggin' cheat code. As he fell to the ground, Ryo cheered for him, calling him an ultra genius, and helped him up, reminding him they only had 2 goals left to score. Nagi requested a moment to rest, but Ryo wouldn't allow it. On the other side, Niko watched in disbelief as he felt hopeless against them. This was a crazy chapter, and I feel like the episode Nagi chapters are really starting to heat up right now, which I'm all for as this was wild. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.